What was your "that was fun, let's never do that again" moment? Getting wasted. Every time I wake up hungover I tell myself I'll never do it again. It rarely lasts more than a few months. One of my best friends jumped out of a moving car going about 30 miles per hour. When we went back for him and asked WTH, he said he read that Jim Morrison used to do that and he wanted to see what it was like. We asked him what it was like and he said, "Well, I'm not going to do it again." Being lost at night in a new city. Honestly surprised why I wasn't mugged. One Halloween weekend, 6 bars, 4 house parties, 3 liquor runs, walked everywhere because we were responsible, in no condition to drive, and this was long before Uber. Met a girl for a few drinks, ended up with her back at my hotel room. She threatened me with a knife if I didn't do the deed without a condom. Didn't take much convincing, so I complied. I woke up the next morning with her sitting on the floor making a card for me with letters cut out from the newspaper spelling out how much she loved me. I managed to convince her to leave, then I packed up my shit in about 30 seconds, checked out of the hotel and got out of the city. 2 weeks later I got a text message from her saying she was preggers. I replied saying there's no way it could be me if it was only 2 weeks. Never heard from her again. Cocaine. It was fun while it lasted, but coming off the high was terrible and I can see myself getting addicted since it turned me into the person I always wished I could be. Cigarette. Trying to fit my entire body through the columns of the stair rail. I got stuck around the waist while home alone and ended up being like that for a couple hours like an idiot. Another good one was when someone bet me that I couldn't fit into a locker. I did and they proceeded to slam it shut and I was stuck for 30 minutes before someone let me out. Moral of the stories: don't try to fit into small spaces. Jump in the flooded stream after the hurricane. About 1.5 miles later we got out where all the dead cows were mixed up with the fencing and trees. Trying LSD with my best friend in college. What an intense, interesting experience. We laughed, we had deep conversations, everything looked and felt different. I'm glad I did it, it really was something else, but never again, thanks, but I enjoy my regular perception of the world. Missing an international flight back home, which allowed us to inadvertently extend our vacation. Would have rather just gone home and not spend more money. Holding on to the fence at Juliana Airport on the island of St. Martin while a 4-engined jet plane is throttling to full power taking off. I like jumping into my bed. One day I jumped feet first, causing my big toe to dislocate. I spent a panicked minute snapping it back into place. The adrenaline was already pumping, so I didn't feel anything. After that day I walked into bed like a normal human. Driving down the highway with 5 grown men in a VW Jetta going 110 miles per hour into the city. Things like that are way more enjoyable when you're young. Got lost in the desert with a buddy, and one flashlight between the both of us. We realized we were going around in circles when we noticed the same tree branch, but couldn't figure out where we parked the truck. Moon didn't give off much light, pitch black aside from our wimpy flashlight. Miraculously found the truck really late in the middle of the night. Trying to eat a whole spoon of cinnamon. One time I did no FAP for too long and ended up shoving a broomstick up my ass. My pica got way out of hand and I ate one of those pocket travel packs of tissues. The full thing, just, opened it up and started eating. I finished with the wrapper on it. BTW, pica is a psychological eating disorder that involves the eating of things that aren't food, such as ice, dirt, paper, etc. It tends to show up in pregnant women and people with iron-deficient anemia. I have iron deficiency anemia. In fact, I'm eating ice right now. The paper thing passed quickly, so now if I eat paper it's maybe the stick of a sucker or like a napkin or something. Ice, however. 2 to 3 full cups of crushed ice a day is the usual. If I don't have any ice in a day, I start craving it to the point where I can't think of anything but the ice dispenser. Doing 240 km/h on a motorcycle. Heroin. Rock hopped across a flooded 30 feet wide, 2 to 8 feet deep river of rapids after 2 straight days of continuous rain. It was still raining, in Southern California after 2 joints, 3 bong rips, and a pipe. If there ever were a time where another timeline of me died, that was it. Me having sex with my friend. Getting a ride from a dude I never seen before after a party, we went to his place, he went to change into something more comfortable. Out he came in halter top and gorilla wear pants. Golden nipple piercings, went on and on about his sex addiction. He was okay, but it could have gone wrong in so many ways. Being talked into a sex dungeon by a total stranger. I like a bit of pain, but what ensued was well beyond what I'd consider sane. Also for context, I'm a guy. I was 20 years old. The stranger was a 30-year-old woman. I was put in a zorb ball with a friend on mine in the army, it was partly filled with water, then we were rolled down a gradual hill. You start off standing up and sort of hamster balling it, but inevitably, you lose your footing and then for the next 3 minutes you're stuck inside a human washing machine. I didn't stop laughing the whole way down, but I probably wouldn't do it again. Fisting. Coming out of the theater after watching Hereditary. Getting super drunk at a party. Apparently at some point my tits were hanging out, God knows for how long until my friend helped me. Fun party though. When I was a lot younger, I had a four-wheeler that my grandparents would let me ride around their ranch whenever it wasn't too wet outside. It was fun for a little while, but a child like me could only be entertained for so long by just driving the damn thing in circles over and over. Well, during one of these bouts on the FW, I saw that there was a dirt mound from one of my grandpa's development projects, but it looked a lot like a ramp to me. Well, I said fuck it, drove around quick and accelerated as fast as I could, and went over the dirt ramp. In that moment, it felt like I was soaring through the air, but that only lasted a second or two as I felt the FW begin to lean sideways, and I hit the ground. Now, I was on my back, the FW was laying on top of me, and my arm hurt bad. Luckily, I was able to kick the thing off of me and stand up. I surveyed the area and saw that the FW was in pieces, completely wrecked from the crash. My emotions were conflicted. On the one hand, I pissed and scared that I had wrecked my FW, but on the other, I felt elated over that flying sensation I momentarily experienced. I guess you could say I thought it was fun, but now I couldn't do it again. A really sketchy theme park in southwest England. It was 50p per ride, and everything was rusty and creaky. Drinking. First time I ever went out drinking was for my 21st birthday, woke up the next morning with a stinging pain on the skin of my ass. Turns out I had gotten a butt tattoo of a penguin standing in front of an igloo holding an American flag. Idic, but never again. Walked across the top of a waterfall as it approached the edge where it got shallow enough. I could have gotten washed off and died in a split second, and it's probably the stupidest thing I've ever done but made for fantastic pictures. Edit grammar. Overwatch. I think that when camping. Then the day after I'm always like let's do it again. Finished what we called a power hour pre-drink before the bar, which is finishing a 1.75, 60 ounces, of vodka between 4 guys. I think we all blacked out at the bar but made it home. Fun but never again. My ex. Driving in Indian traffic. Nopety nope nope. Top Thrill Dragster, a roller coaster that goes about 300 miles per hour straight up in a twist then down fast with more twist. skydiving, bungee jumping and getting drunk on the streets of Tallinn solo. Got chased by some girls after pulling a prank on them in junior high school. Never knew girls could run so fast. Got chased into a corner, caught, punched and grabbed. Was a thrilling experience, but I told my mate, Donald, I would kill you if you say we should do that again. We had a good laugh. I had sex with a guy once. Air travel. Turns out I hate planes. As an Australian, that leaves me with very few options. Ended up at a party at a literal crack house. The curtains had so much mold and smoke detritus on them, they were welded to the sill. In the kitchen they had a single red light bulb. The house was packed. The doors were all duct taped open. I was young and dumb enough to stick around for a bit. Walked around the house, lots of rooms with people passed out in them. Very loud music playing all the time. I left when someone started a fire in the backyard. At the red light in a small town in Mississippi, there had been a construction job going on and dump trucks had left a layer of red clay over the entire intersection. Yes, there was only one in the town. During a light rain shower, I tried to make a left turn. At 10 miles per hour, I swear that I made a full 360 in that intersection. It was the slowest moment of exhilarating wonder/pants puckering terror I've ever experienced. My friends and I tied a busted lawnmower to the back of a Ford Escape, and then we decided to go up and down the neighborhood road after it had rained recently at about 25 to 30 miles per hour. Afterwards, I got on it after they did it a few times and the first half went pretty smoothly. That is until the second half. On the way back, the whole mower decided to flip after I turned after water got in my eyes, and I bailed partway through. Well, in short, my leg gets caught on the gear shift, I fall face first on the gravel road, spilled my left eyebrow open, I'd get dragged about 10 feet before one finally saw me and told the other to stop. They get out and covered in mud, blood, and I have 2 holes in my hands, one in each palm, from the road, and nearly went unconscious after I got back home. Went to urgent care after that, got stitches, gauze for my hands and I looked like I got in a fight with Rocky Balboa and lost. Got cred in my school after the whole thing though. So that was fun but I'll not try it again. Passenger in the car running from cops. We made it, winky face. I have been running forever, and started doing adventure racing before just sticking to trail racing. I did a Tough Mudder. Utter tedium. I have done a lot of adventure races, but this was the worst. I have done a lot that were fun, and my sister and I do one annually. It's not long, we get dirty, and have lunch. Plan a wedding. The amount of pressure and stress it puts you through is enough to drive you insane. Riding the Top Thrill dragster at Cedar Point. Teenage me was terrified. Falling in love. My husband and I were on vacation and made a spontaneous decision to hike to the beach on Lake Michigan to see the sunset. It was about a 2-mile hike through the woods, on a poorly marked trail, got lost on the hike back, both cell phones nearly dead or only source of light. Thank goodness we saw a runner with a headlamp making his way back and he helped us back to the parking lot. We were lost in the dark for a couple hours. I was sure we would be one of those stories on the news where a couple is found dead in the woods after being missing. Climbed the face of a mountain in the fall. We got about halfway up and realized there was no way down other than death, so we had to climb up with our 50 IBS camera bags, kicking our boots into the snow to make steps and hanging off of tree roots. Don't get me wrong, it was fun as hell, but I realized how close we got to dying. College. Zooming around Phuket, Thailand on a moped which was badly driven by my now husband. The Thai police were pulling people over and we just sped past, nearly crashed multiple times, but it was awesome. rollerblading down an enormous hill in my hometown. The incline of the hill didn't seem like much from a distance, but for fence from top to bottom was around 20 stories tall. The whole time going down it never stopped being terrifying. By the time it leveled out and was approaching an intersection filled with traffic, I still hadn't slowed down, so I bailed into some bushes beside the road and had the wind knocked out of me. Some cops watching for speeders pulled up and asked if I needed any help and said they clocked me at around 35 miles an hour. My friends who tailed me on bikes finally got the nerve to walk up and check on me after the cops pulled up, said that we'd go home and get me some water. I was more shaken than anything real injury, but definitely a okay, I'm never doing this again situation. When I was in college, every now and again, someone would pull that joke of running the car right up to you and stopping a couple feet away. Being the 20-year-old jackass that I was, I jumped on the hood of my friend's car when she did this. Instead of everybody having a good chuckle at the tomfoolery as I had planned, she threw it in reverse and drove around the movie theater parking lot with me hanging on for dear life. Fortunately, this was before cell phone cameras became ubiquitous. Trying ecstasy, the come down lasted a week. Used to drink a lot at parties and get absolutely blasted. Well, one night I did that, went way too far and got hospitalized. Drinking to that level just lost its appeal. But right now it don't. You just really like thinking about things. Monogamy. Getting tattooed for 11 hours. I once went on a field trip to Legoland and my class was split in groups. My entire team didn't bring our water bottles. Huge mistake. I thought I would survive on the water provided. Unfortunately for me, the bottles were tiny, and it was a hot day. Worst of all the water bottles were full of salt, making us more thirsty. We had a lot of fun, but the dryness and thirst will forever forbid me going back in there. Jumped down a 20-foot waterfall. Luckily I found my footing properly when I landed and managed to swim to the side. Lost Souls Alley in Krakow while traveling. Horror escape room. Terrifying. 100% would recommend, 100% would not do again. The time my friends and I ate 50 pieces of chicken nuggets each. And the time I went bungee jumping. Riding on scooters in Bali with my kids. We were 3 people on each scooter, driver, 1 parent, and 1 kid. All of us without helmets and in flip-flops and shorts, going fast up and down hills on narrow roads. Kids were 5 and 8 years old. Let's not do that again. My teenage years. Swimming where the Yellowstone River meets the boiling river, in April. Just freezing, then scalding hot water flowing over your body. Mildly traumatic for 12-year-old me. Going to a swingers club. Car sex. I went hiking by myself in the rain, fell off a cliff, wandered through the woods until I found the highway, and hitchhiked home because I couldn't get a cell signal. Laughing at my stupidity was fun, but I can't say I'd like to do it again. Playing King of the Hill IRL. I'm 13, and I was playing with 16 to 18-year-olds where the objective is to throw other people off this 20-foot mound. I get thrown off so many times and hit the ground so hard I'm sore everywhere. But the highlight of the event was me getting my body literally getting rolled up by an 18-year-old rolling down the hill. I'm very surprised that I didn't break any bones. Emergency medicine residency. Skydiving. I went as moral support with a friend when he did it, he came as moral support for me when I did it some years later. We talked about how fun it'd be to do it together someday, but, nah. Once is enough for me. Having babies. Adore my kids, they are the light of my life and I will never have another baby again. Functioning on 4 hours or less sleep a night is completely off the table. mushrooms at least not any time again soon. Quadruple anal. Eating another hit in the French Quarter on Halloween after 2 am.